Yes, I looked at the list and it was just like my mind was blown. I was just like, let's talk about Billy Idol first of all, because he's another one of my favorites. But I had heard that you, at the time of leaving Ozzy, that you had worked on so much material that you literally were planning to do like a second album, maybe with Ozzy, but then taking that material and moving on. So, did you bring that to Billy, or where did you fit in those other
No,
songs?
not really. I mean, yes, that was true. I'd spent a lot of time writing. After we finished The Ultimate Sin and went home, I set up a little recording studio set up over in Sharon's office in London, and I would go in there every day and just work on material and so I'd gotten a lot of material together. And then when we came out to LA, I mean, it wasn't like I'd written, the whole album or anything. I had some really great ideas that, in my view, we would get together and we would probably develop, and we'd spend some time working on those. Um, and you know, in the business of music, just to explain to your listeners, I mean, you have something called publishing, which is the rights to your music,
Mhm.
and you get royalties from these things, and small amounts of money, but over many, many years, that becomes, for want of a better word, your pension, right? And I wanted to retain some of my rights for this, and I was, it was sort of not being uh, it was presented to me that that was probably not going to be possible. In other words, I was going to have to relinquish all of those. And I wanted to hang on to a little bit of it. And that was where I was, sort of, that was my sort of, my want of a better word, a red line. That was my thing. And once I realized that I was not going to be, I was going to have to relinquish all of my publishing. I just said, well, maybe it's time to move on. That's all. And so I did move on. I did take those songs. I did not play them for Billy. Didn't think they were really what we were doing, although we started working straight away on new material. They came up a long time after, actually, in Vince Neil's first solo album, those ideas came up. And that's why a lot of those songs on that album were songs that originally I had been working on for Ozzy. So sorry, long-winded story there, but just giving you a little bit of this, the surrounding uh, side stories of all of this.
Yes, I find it so interesting, the concept of songwriting. How does it come to you? Like when you were very young, did you realize that you were into poetry or writing, or did you always feel like you had the lyrics rolling around in your head, or was it more of a music thing, that you can actually hear the notes versus working on lyrics?
Well, you're bringing up a subject which is to do with the sort of spirituality of writing and what goes through your mind and what goes through your psyche, I suppose. And yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not one or the other. Sometimes it's both. From a very, very young age, um, I loved music. I heard music at home. My mom had the radio on all the time, and I'd be listening to in the 60s. It was all British 60s music, everything from the Beatles to you name it. And then as soon as I started having my own preference for music, it was David Bowie. It was early glam rock. It was on that one hand, it was Mott the Hoople. It was all of these bands, and slightly on the other hand was more of the kind of classic rock, blues rock artists and bands. It was Free, which later became Bad Company, and it was those kind of players. So all of these things were going around in my head. I was actually thinking about it today because I was doing some yard work, and I was just sort of mentally humming this piece of music, and it was something that I heard, like a famous song or something, and I was like, man, I can't get this out of my head. And it's not my song; it was someone else's song. But I remember being a kid, and sometimes that would happen to me all the time. I'd have something just going round and round and round and round in my head, and it was almost like there was no volume control. Turn this off. I would hear like a little hook, and I would go. And I think that's where I kind of developed the idea of what a hook is. It's something which is so memorable and it's something that is so accessible that a bus driver can whistle it. No disrespect to bus drivers because they're excellent whistlers, but a bus driver could whistle it. Anyone could do it. Anyone could, it would relate to people. I also played instruments from a very young age, um, and childhood instruments until I was